Alright, now that we have completed education, health and rural development, the last part that we need to finish is demographic phases in India, a few facts about the census and also population theories. So is census a new concept? See, the earliest literature, Rig Veda, reveals that some kind of population count was maintained during 800 to 600 BC. Even Kautilya's Arthashastra, which was written around 321 to 296 BC, laid stress on census taking as a measure of state policy for purpose of taxation. Under Mughal King Akbar, the administrative report Ain-e-Akbari included comprehensive data pertaining to population, industry, wealth and many other characteristics. So who conducts the census in India? The responsibility of conducting the census rests with the Office of the Registrar General and the Census Commissioner of India under the Ministry of Home Affairs. The Census Act was enacted in 1948 to provide for the scheme of conducting population census with duties and responsibilities of census officers. Earlier, the whole operation used to be temporarily set up for 2 to 3 years and wound up after the census was conducted and results were printed. The Bhore Committee was constituted for making plans for the post-war development in the field of health. This committee made a comprehensive review of the field of population and recommended that a Registrar General of Vital and Population Statistics at the center should be appointed, and at the provincial level a superintendent may be appointed with a view to improve the quality of population statistics. The Bhore Committee also recommended that the population problem should be subject of central study. Accordingly, the Census Act came into force in 1948. The census of post-independence era were conducted as per the provisions of this act. Now, with the viewpoint of economic development and economic welfare, studying the demography of any country is very important. The theory of demographic transition helps to understand and analyze the change in volume of population. In 2001, the population of India was 1027 million, which was 1/6 of the world population. And in 2011, the population rose to 1210 million. The population of India is second largest in the world. Area-wise, India is at the 7th position and has a merely 2.4% of the total land area. However, has 17% of the population of the world residing in it. But first, let's try and understand India's demographic phases. See, a study of growth of India's population can be categorized into 4 phases. Phase 1, which is from 1901 to 1921, which talks about stagnant population. Phase 2, which is 1921 to 1951, which is nothing but steady growth that we have noticed. Phase 3 is 1951 to 1981, which is rapid growth. Phase 4, which is 1981 to 2011, that is high growth with significant signs of slowing down. So phase 1, which is known as stagnant population. During 1901 to 1921, the population of India rose from 236 million to 251 million. That is, during the first 20 years, the population increased by 15 million only. During this phase, the high birth rate was neutralized by high death rate. The reason for stagnant population was that the birth rate was more or less same as the death rate. Phase 2. The second phase of India's population growth, which is also known as phase of steady growth, continued for 30 years from 1921 to 1951. The population increased from 251 million in 1921 to 361 million in 1951, that is by 110 million. This phase was characterized by a decline in death rate. There was a decline in birth rate, but the decline was negligible. The fall in death rate during this period was mainly due to the control of epidemics like smallpox, plague and cholera. Phase 3. Rapid high growth rate. The phase 3 was considered from 1951 to 1981. This phase lasted for 30 years. During this period, the population of India grew from 361 million in 1951 to 683 million in 1981. This was the phase when both death rate as well as birth rate declined. It can be said that during this period there was a sharp decline in death rate while birth rate declined at a very slow rate. Now, as a result of this, there was a population explosion during this phase. Hence, this phase was marked with rapid growth of population. Phase 4. High growth with definite signs of slowing down. See, the last phase of the 20th century, that is the fourth phase, is the period between census years 1981 to 2011. India showed a population growth decline from 0.8% in 1991 to 2.52% in 2001 and a decline of 3.70% in 2011. The important question is, how long could this phase extend and when will India achieve a stable population? The National Population Policy of 2000, adopted by the Government of India, states that the long-term objective is to achieve a stable population by 2045 at a level which is consistent with the requirement of a sustainable economic growth, social development, and environment protection. No doubt a Herculean effort will be required to achieve this goal of stable population. Now, the census of India. See, considering the humongous amount of data that reflects in census, we cannot show that all on a small video. The onus is on the aspirants to go through the census and learn the entire data. Get the basics like total population, literacy rates, sex ratio, child sex ratio, density, and decadal growth rates learned by heart. There have been questions previously asked on it. The last part for today is population theories. There will be 4 theories that we shall be looking into. First is Malthusian Theory. Thomas Robert Malthus was the key figure to analyze the population statistics. His formulation on population was a landmark in the history of population theories. He generalized the relationship between population factors and social change. In his essay on the principle of population, which was in 1798, Malthus argued that because of the strong attraction of the two sexes, the population could increase by multiples, doubling every 25 years. Human capacity for reproduction exceeded the rate at which subsistence from the land can be increased. Malthus further wrote, "Population, when unchecked, increases in a geometrical ratio. Subsistence increases only in an arithmetical ratio." Malthus argued that man's 2 basic characteristics were essential for the maintenance of life. One is the need for food, and second is the passion between the sexes. The second point, he said, which led people to marry at a relatively early age, would result in such a large number of births, and this cannot be left unchecked. He explicitly demanded artificial means of birth control. He also advised late marriages and restraints. Malthus saw the tension between population and resources as a major cause of the misery of much of humanity. Malthus believed that even with these checks, there shall be always some form of overpopulation because food supply cannot keep up with the rising population. Second is Thomas Doubleday's diet theory. Thomas Doubleday was a social philosopher and an English economist. According to him, the rate of population increase will be less when the quantity of food supply is greater. It means that the increase in population and food supply are inversely related. Doubleday mentions 2 states of food supply, that is, the plethoric state, having good food supply where the fertility is low, and the deplethoric state, in which due to food shortage we find diminution of proper nourishment where the fertility is high. Now, Thomas observed that animals that are fat and bulky produce less offsprings as compared to ones that are thin and lean, and that is why he laid down his particular theory. Doubleday divides society into 3 groups. The first group includes those that are in a state of affluence and are well supplied with luxuries. Their numbers are on a constant decrease. It is because the number of people in the affluent group are engaged in mental or physical activities and are living a very busy life, and that is why they do not have time to reproduce. The second group consists of poor people who have less supply of food. Their number is increasing rapidly. In other words, the constant increase in population is found in this group where the people are worse supplied with food. Now, this happens in all societies. The third group has those people who form the mean and meridian between the 2 opposite states and who fall under the average income group, and those who are well supplied with good food or who get a normal diet and who do not overwork but yet are not idle. Their number is stationary. The third is Michael Thomas Sadler's destination theory. Michael Thomas Sadler, an economist and a British social reformer, was a contemporary of Malthus. He did not accept Malthus' views. He was of the opinion that fecundity, that is the ability to produce an abundance of offsprings, is in the inverse ratio of the condensation of their numbers. He stated that fertility rate decreases with the increase in density of population. In the agriculture-based or pastoral countries where the density of population is low, the fertility rate of the population becomes high, whereas where there is higher density, people would limit the size of the family to sustain in those socio-economic conditions. And last is Herbert Spencer's biological theory. Herbert Spencer, a famous English philosopher and sociologist, propounded the biological theory of population in his book, The Principles of Biology. Spencer argued that fecundity decreases when the complexity of life increases. According to him, the changes in the growth of population occur due to natural change in the reproductive capacity of human beings. Therefore, his theory has been known as a natural theory of population, which is similar to the theory of Sadler and DoubleDay. Spencer believed that there exists antagonism between individuals, that is survival, and genesis, that is reproduction. When an individual does hard work for his personal development at his workplace, the desire for reproduction decreases. In other words, when more energy has been utilized for one's self-development, the energy available for reproduction will be less, and consequently the population growth will be less. Thus, with the development of society, and for one's success and survival, life becomes more complex, which results in reduction in the capacity of reproduction. This is observed from the fact that fertility is more in rural individuals where life is not complex, whereas fertility is low in industrial society where life is more complex. Alright, so what have we looked at today? We have looked at the demographic phases in India, and we looked at the various population theories that are important from your exam perspective. So that is it for today. Thank you for watching.